I actually came in here earlier today when it was still empty a couple hours ago when we got here. And there are a lot of people here. So, Dad, there are a lot of people here. I think a lot of you saw me probably running in here kind of last minute because I decided I wanted to make some changes to what I was going to say. And I kind of was sitting in here thinking about why I was having such a hard time getting this thing written. And I finally kind of realized that it wasn't that I didn't know what to write or that I didn't know how to say it. It was just kind of hard to stop writing because there's a lot to say. So, there is so much that's been said today, but I know that the person who I know as my dad is completely different than who anyone else knew. But I just wanted to start by giving you guys one of my favorite stories about my dad. And this so happened to be in his sophomore year of high school. And so his sophomore English class, one day he made some sort of completely unacceptable comment that resulted in him being asked to leave the class and not to come back for the rest of the year. And so every day when it was time for English class, he had to go to the principal's office, and he sat there for all of English class that year. And the same year, he failed chemistry. So, he turned out okay, but considering how much time he spent in the principal's office when he was my age, I just think it's kind of funny that he ended up basically living there. So I know my dad didn't talk a lot about his childhood or where he came from, so I just wanted to give everyone a little bit of background. He grew up in a really small town in Pennsylvania called Red Lion, and it's really not I went on Wikipedia to look some of this stuff up for you guys because we didn't talk about it ever. Currently has 6,000 people, and it's 98% white. So my dad kind of made something out of his life that was not what he came from. And so this was kind of his little secret that he didn't really let anyone in on. And then the other part of this secret was that his parents got divorced when he was like 5 years old. And so he grew up with just his mom and his sister. And I've never understood how, but he still turned out pretty okay. And I've never been able to understand how, having grown up without a father, he could have been such a fantastic father to me and such a fantastic mentor and such a fantastic father figure to so many other people. And then I finally kind of figured out that my dad, he could sit there and he could figure out what a father was supposed to be, and he knew what wasn't there, and he found a way to become that. One of the things my dad loved to tell me is that life is a marathon and not a sprint. And this is something that he knew better than anyone. He made his life into something more than what he started as. And one of the things, even though so much has changed in his life, one thing that's been constant is that he has never been running alone. There have always been people helping him or holding him or just talking to him while he went. He can see the value in other people, and he knows how to make other people see this value in themselves, and he knows how other people can help him, and he knows how to get other people to help him. And he knew how to help other people, and he knew how other people could help him. He was kind of like the ultimate people person. He would do this thing where anyone he knew he would call his friend, even if he barely knew them. I think I can speak for myself in saying I'm always kind of hesitant to call any acquaintance my friend. I kind of wait until we've done something to completely establish our friendship before I call them my friend. But my dad calls everyone his friend. It's his attitude and his self-confidence, and everyone he meets and everyone he approaches, he sees them not as some acquaintance or anything. He sees them as a potential friend. And he approached children the same way when he came into this position as the head of school. He was never looking to be anyone's mentor or anyone's role model as much as he was looking to be their friend. I believe that it is this that made him such a phenomenal role model and such a phenomenal friend to so many of us. Last summer, my family spent 2 weeks in Italy, and it was basically our best family trip ever. My dad would love to think that he knows everything that there is to know about every single thing we did and every single thing we saw while we were there. And basically, he set up the entire trip as a chance to show off his knowledge. So after our first few days in Rome, we went to Florence. And we got there, and my mom had booked an Airbnb where we were going to stay, and then it turned out that the building was under construction, and it just really wasn't going to work. And so my dad and I went out, and we decided we were going to find a backup plan, and we were going to find a hotel where we could stay. And so my dad and I left in the busy and really, really hot city to figure out what we were going to do. And that day, running around Florence with him, watching him try out these really, really flawed Italian skills on basically anyone who would listen to him, I got to see a side of my dad that I had never seen before. One way my dad and I are completely different is that he really loves to plan things. He always goes into things with a plan. And he liked to know ahead of time exactly where he would be and what he would be doing and who would be with him. But that day I saw my dad improvise, unlike I ever had before. The most important part of the story is that even without a plan, he could make everything turn out okay. And everything did turn out okay that trip, but it was just a good day. One of our favorite jokes about my dad, because we kind of love to make fun of him for stuff, was that he lives in this bubble. And in the bubble, basically the world revolves around him. And he could get anything he wanted without really asking for it, because people just absolutely adore him when they meet him. And no one has ever really been able to identify what this quality was that he had, but everyone he meets just wanted to make him happy. Like, he could get things without asking for them. People just met him and wanted to please him. And I think that most of you guys who have met him or talked to him know this thing that he had about him that just made you want to keep talking to him. And it made you you didn't want to do anything to make him upset with you because you just wanted to have him there forever. So to kind of move from what you guys all do know to what you guys don't. So in spite of his undeniable and seriously unparalleled intelligence, my dad had a total soft spot for really trashy TV shows. I think he just really, really liked the drama in all of it. But one of these shows over the last summer that we watched together was Gossip Girl, and he got more into it than anyone I have ever seen. At first, he kind of pretended that he was just watching it with me for the sake of playing along. But, I mean, I'd already seen it before, so it really... Pretty quickly, we caught him watching it by himself. So one day I decided, he and I were just sitting and talking about it, and I asked him which character he thought he was the most similar to. And I know that not all of you know Gossip Girl, so this might go over some people's heads. And he announced that he is Nate. And Nate is kind of the really cool, very in it guy. That was kind of the end of that conversation. And I think a lot of you would have answered the exact same thing, that my dad is a lot like Nate. But just to let you guys all in on this secret, as hard as he might have tried, my dad is totally Dan. 100% Dan. My dad was kind of like my buddy in the family. All four of us were really close, but has always kind of been us two and then my mom and Grayson. And we would always kind of make fun of those two because they're kind of like an old married couple if you see the two of them together. There is no one in the world who is more supportive of me, and there is no one who would ever be as proud of me as he was. He was more than just on my... So many people have said in the last couple of days he was on my team in every single way, but he was more than just on my team. He was like the captain of my team. Dad, you are smart in a way that so few people are. There is no denying your book smarts. The walls and boxes of books that flood our house and the framed diplomas from your many degrees can attest to this. But you also have this sort of street smarts. Actually, I guess it's kind of people smarts, because he's kind of terrible with streets. He didn't usually know how to get there, but he could never get lost, because there was always kind of someone there to help him out. Dad, in the last few months, our relationship has had a sort of breakthrough. You finally saw me as almost a grown-up, and you finally took my opinion seriously. While you definitely didn't always agree with me, you respected my intelligence enough to appreciate the time and thought that has gone into my beliefs and opinions. You were always open to have a conversation with me, even as I've developed my passion and skill for debate. Daddy, I'm going to miss finding your to-do lists scribbled in your signature, illegible handwriting on every surface in the house. I'm going to miss your loud footsteps early in the morning when you and Pepper would get up to turn on the espresso machine. I will miss the comforting yet totally headache-inducing cloud of cologne that always surrounded you. I'll miss sitting next to you in church and sharing a hymnal with you, even though I was always looking around us to find out who could hear your loud, out-of-tune voice. I will miss the cute way you get so excited about such little things, and I will miss the less cute way you would always flex your muscles and check yourself out in every reflective surface you could find. I'll miss beating you in backgammon, but more than that, I'll miss beating you in spite of all of your trash talking. He would always do this thing where he'd start trash talking, but then once he knew he was going to lose, it would just get 10 times worse, and he would just trash talk even harder as though that would pull him out of that. It never worked. Daddy, I miss hugging you and I miss talking to you. Even in the last few days, there have been so many times that I've wanted to call you or text you, just because there are so many things that I know that you'll appreciate that we could talk about that I just can't with anybody else. So, Daddy, thank you for being like the captain of my team. Thank you for the lifetime of support. Thank you for listening to me and for respecting me. Thank you for teaching me how to play squash and how to shoot a gun and how to shake someone's hand and make proper eye contact. Thank you for always being willing to refill the bowl of trust, no matter how badly I'd cracked it. Thank you for never, ever letting it shatter. Thank you for being the good cop parent while still giving me such meaningful advice. Sorry, Mom. Thank you for jumping into freezing cold water in Maine just to make the rest of us laugh. Thank you for sucking up your pride and giving me a hug and crying on stage at my 8th grade graduation, even though you said you weren't going to do that. He told me specifically not to try and give him a hug because he wanted it to look serious. Thank you for sitting down with us at a family dinner every night. Mom, thank you all for creating a life for us so full of love. Thank you all for teaching me and Grayson what a marriage should be. Thank you for showing me that you can still love someone even if you don't always like them. Thank you for being more than an amazing dad. Thank you for being my friend, and thank you for making me laugh. Daddy, thank you for all of the love. When I got that call from my mom last Saturday, I honestly thought at first my life was ruined. All I could say to her on the phone was, "Oh my God," over and over again, until I finally said, "Mom, can I just hang up now?" And then I sat there on the floor of my house counselor's apartment, and I tried to think of the ways that what she just told me could have been wrong. My dad and I both spent a lot of time trying to prove my mom wrong. So every single part of me wanted her to be wrong. Everything I had ever known and everything I had ever taken for granted was just not there. I sat quietly on the floor of my house counselor's apartment as my travel plans were made quickly over my head. Then once I was at the airport, I started to call and text my friends. At first, I couldn't really say it out loud, so a couple people had to hear it over a text message before I could tell someone on the phone. But then pretty soon, I got on the plane, and I was sitting there quietly, and then I really quickly got really, really mad at him. I sat up there thinking that he had ruined everything and that I could never forgive him. But then we were sitting, my house counselor and I, we've had to fly through Detroit. She flew home with me. We were sitting in the airport in Detroit, and we started talking, and I had never really talked that much with her, but I kind of just started giving her my whole life story, and she was just asking questions. And I started to realize how much I love my dad and how I could never hate him as much as I wanted, as much as I thought I wanted to, as much as I really, really thought I was mad at you, Daddy. I love you too much to hate you. Yes, what happened on Saturday changed my life, but it didn't ruin it. I first thought that last Saturday was going to be the end of the only life I knew, and that I was about to start a new life and that it wouldn't have you in it anymore. But I kind of have reached this point where, yes, we are starting a new life, but you not being here is not the difference. I kind of compared it to church and Christianity and stuff. Like, the Bible is still what drives Christianity. Even though it hasn't been updated in centuries and centuries, we still call ourselves Christian even if we don't know Jesus in the flesh and we didn't live in the time when the Bible was being written. Dad, just like the Bible, I can still have you and you can still be my dad. It just won't be updated. I still have the memories of you and your wisdom, and there is nothing that can change that. Dad, I still have you in my life. This is just a new life that has you in a different form. So, Daddy, congratulations on finishing a seriously impressive marathon. And thank you for getting me off to such a strong start on my own. Thank you, guys.